Sound test, 1, 2, 3. So tilt it, right, but position it where it's gonna be convenient for you. Yeah, see like that.
Bonjour tout le monde. Good morning, everyone. We're going to start in 1 minute. Merci. Good morning, everyone. Bonjour tout le monde. Welcome. Thank you for joining us today. As we begin our meeting, and on behalf of Ottawa City Council, I wish to acknowledge that Ottawa is built on unceded Anishinaabe Algonquin territory. The peoples of the Anishinaabe Algonquin Nation have lived on this territory for millennia. Their culture and presence have nurtured and continue to nurture this land. The City of Ottawa honors the peoples and land of the Anishinaabe Algonquin Nation and honors all First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples and their valuable past and present contributions to this land. As we get started, I will ask the committee coordinator to do the roll call, please.
Councillor Luloff.
Bonjour.
Councillor Dudas.
Present.
Councillor Curry. Councillor Gower.
Here.
Councillor Tierney.
Present.
Councillor King.
Here.
Councillor Leeper.
Here.
Councillor Brockington. Councillor Menard.
Here.
Councillor Giroux.
Here.
Vice Chair Kitts.
Here.
Mayor Sutcliffe.
Here.
You have a quorum, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Just a reminder that this is a public meeting to consider the proposed comprehensive official plan and zoning bylaw amendments listed as item 7.4 on today's agenda. For the items just mentioned, only those specifically identified in the Planning Act who make oral submissions today or written submissions before the amendments are adopted may appeal the matter to the Ontario Land Tribunal. To submit written comments on these amendments prior to their consideration by City Council on October 16th, 2024, please email or call the committee or council coordinator. Are there any declarations of interest? Confirmation of minutes from our meeting on the 16th of September. Are the minutes confirmed? Item 4.1, uncollectible taxes under Section 354 of the Municipal Act 2001. Is that carried? Item 5.1 is the comprehensive legal services report for the period January 1st to June 30th. Is that carried? Or sorry, received? Is that received? 6.1 is the West Carleton Environmental Center host community fee criteria and process. And I know that Councillor Gower has a direction related to that. If people are comfortable with dealing that quickly. Councillor Gower.
Thank you. Yeah, the direction is that staff consult with waste management and provide an annual report to council outlining the remaining balance from the Community Initiative Fund legacy funds established through the 2001 settlement agreement between Waste Management and the City of Ottawa. This report shall include the total balance remaining in the fund, the balance remaining for each ward, and a list of projects utilizing the legacy funds in the previous calendar year.
Thank you, Councillor Gower. Staff are okay with that? Okay, is the item carried? Item 7 is the Strategic Initiatives Department 7.1, second application for approval to expropriate lands, Bank Street Rehabilitation Project, Phase 1B. Is that carried? 7.2 is a land exchange with Barrhaven Conservancy Strandherd Incorporated. Is that carried? Item 7.3 is the Spark Street Business Improvement Area. We have a couple of delegations on that, so we will hold that one. Item 7.4, we have a presentation on as well. Item 7.5 is the delegation of authority, acquisition and sale of land and property from the 1st of January to the 30th of June. Is that received? Okay, so going back to item 7.3, which is the Spark Street Business Improvement Area boundary adjustment. There is a technical motion on this, so Councillor or Vice Chair Kitts, if you wouldn't mind moving that, please.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Whereas the Spark Street BIA Board of Management submitted a letter on June 17, 2024, document 2 to the City of Ottawa, officially requesting that City Council adopt a bylaw to expand the BIA boundary as identified in document 1. And whereas the Spark Street BIA boundary expansion area includes the properties along the west side of Elgin Street, north of Slater Street, but the background section of the report erroneously indicates the properties along Elgin Street are not included. Therefore, be it resolved that the third paragraph of the background section on page 3 of the staff report be revised to read as follows. The Spark Street BIA Board of Management submitted a letter on June 17, 2024, document 2 to the City of Ottawa, officially requesting that City Council adopt a bylaw to expand the BIA boundary. The expanded boundary is identified in document 1, proposed boundary expansion map, Spark Street BIA. The BIA proposes to expand west to Bay Street, south to Laurier Avenue, and east to Metcalfe Street, and along the west side of Elgin Street, north of Slater Street. Between the expanded Spark Street BIA and the existing Centertown BIA, all downtown commercial properties would be included within a business improvement area, save for commercial properties in Centertown east and west of Bank Street and properties along Elgin Street, south of Slater Street.
Thank you, Vice Chair Kitts. We do have a delegation from the Spark Street BIA and Mall Authority, Kevin McHale. And there's also a delegation from Christine Rozak. Are you just doing it on your own, Kevin?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Thank you.
Welcome, Kevin.
Welcome. Thank you.
Go ahead anytime.
Mr. Mayor, members of the committee, good morning. I come to you to speak today about the Spark Street BIA Board of Directors' goal to expand our catchment area to include most of downtown Ottawa's business and commercial district. The unique nature of BIAs allow them to affect positive change for the community, making it better for business owners, residents, and visitors. BIAs work hard to make their areas cleaner, safer, and vibrant. The odds are that your favorite downtown neighborhoods have a BIA or similar organization acting as their steward and advocate. Next slide, please. The proposed new boundary aligns with the city's downtown business district, Wellington on the north, Bay on the west, Elgin, Metcalfe on the east, and Laurier on the south. It does not include properties currently in the Centertown BIA. It consists mostly of mid to high-rise commercial properties with limited mixed-use residential. This area has faced and continues to face significant challenges. These challenges seem daunting, but the Spark Street BIA board strongly believes that we are the best positioned organization to meet these challenges. Next slide, please. As you can see from this slide, the membership of the BIA on the street front businesses would increase by 167. This unfortunately also includes 33 vacant spaces at this time. Next slide. What is the role of a BIA and how is it funded? It is an association of commercial property owners and tenants within a defined area who work in partnership with the city to create a thriving and vibrant area that is clean, safe, and inclusive. It attracts locals and visitors. It is a place where new businesses want to be. The BIA board and staff identify the needs of the area and develop a strategy and budget that allows them to actively enhance the quality of life in the neighborhood. The budget is funded through an annual levy that is collected in addition to the municipal property taxes collected from the commercial property owners and tenants in the trade area. The budget is approved by the board and presented to the membership at the AGM. Next slide, please. When BIAs were first established in Ottawa in the 1980s, they were created to address the needs of main streets. Since then, downtown neighborhoods have evolved into larger districts that include diverse commercial offerings on secondary streets. This has led to service gaps for public realm maintenance and no direct support for these businesses. During the pandemic, some support programs required businesses to be within a BIA catchment to qualify, leaving many downtown businesses unable to apply or without support for complicated applications. After the convoy protest, Spark Street BIA staff provided essential information to businesses beyond our current catchment area to help them access the Downtown Relief Fund. The expansion of the BIA will help bridge these gaps. Next slide, please. Spark Street has an award-winning record when it comes to placemaking in public realm, programming, and promotion. Using the Spark Street public realm as a guide, the BIA has created novel places for people to gather, beautify the areas with plants, trees, and flowers, maintained and repaired infrastructure, and refreshed and expanded our programming offering on our historic street. A living capital, the Downtown Ottawa Action Agenda, developed by the Canadian Urban Institute, the Ottawa Board of Trade, and the City of Ottawa, calls on the public and private sectors to build a desirable, resilient, robust, and inclusive downtown. An expanded BIA can bring to bear our unique experience and our ability with continually evolves to advocate, support, and meet the changing needs of a growing downtown core now and over these next crucial years. Next slide, please. Imagine events like Busker Fest and Winterlude extended throughout the downtown core. Winter lighting pushing back against dark winters, music filling the streets, and murals telling the stories about Ottawa's past and future. Picture underutilized spaces coming to life through collaboration, arts, and cultural programming. Next slide. In conclusion, I urge you to support the positive and long-lasting impact this initiative will have on our downtown core. The Spark Street BIA's board's proposed expansion is timely and strategic, and it aligns with the needs of downtown, its business community, and residents. We can ensure that downtown Ottawa becomes the vibrant place that our G7 capital deserves. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the presentation. Councillor Troster.
Thank you so much, Kevin, for being here. You may have all seen my support for this initiative in the report. I am very excited about this possibility. Kevin, one of the things I hear a lot about are cleanliness of downtown streets, just a general concern for maintenance and upkeep. Do you believe that this expansion will help extend and improve cleanliness in the downtown core?
Yeah, I believe so. I think if you look at current operations, city staff do a great job in areas like Byward Market, Spark Street, Bank Street, Elgin Street, and doing regular sweeping, especially, and cleaning, especially during the summer season. But that's what I allude to with the secondary streets, where often these don't get that same level of service. And that's where an expanded BIE can step up and work with city staff to maximize everyone's resources and ability to keep places tidy.
Thank you. And you mentioned vacant properties. And as you know, we have a lot of vacancies in the downtown core. I'm just wondering if you could expand a little bit on the work you've done with the Sparks BIA and what you hope to do with this expansion in terms of decreasing those vacancies.
Thank you, Councillor. One of the things we've developed over the last 6 months, and really we were still developing it, is a leasing support program. And what we're trying to do is bridge the gap between property owners, property managers, and potential entrepreneurs, bringing them into the space. What we've been finding is that there's sometimes a lot of confusion on the side of entrepreneurs about how difficult it is to get into a space, what the conditions of each space are. So what we're doing right now is we're actually trying to figure out the personality of all the retail bays that we have in our space, and what the property owners might be able and willing to do in those spaces. So as an example, if there's a partial fit up in the space, it could be used for pop-ups, businesses, a week, a month, 2 months, but what are the conditions that a property owner might be willing to do with that? They may not have the capacity for a 2-week tenant, but they might look at and entertain something at 3 months or 6 months or 10 months. So we have to really learn the personalities of each one of these spaces and then try to partner them up.
That's great, thank you. And so the area that you will be potentially taking over as part of the BIA, it's certainly part of it has that reputation as being traditionally the business district where there's not necessarily a lot going on at night. I see our nightlife commissioner is here in the gallery. I'm just wondering if you had any ideas about how to sort of revive the area under the new BIA or counter that misconception that there's nothing going on after 5 p.m. in that area?
Well, I think it's interesting. Our strategy going in is that really treating the next year as year zero. Us really truly getting to know the identity of each space and everything that's there. But I think it does start with the basics. I think it starts with cleanliness. I think it starts with plantings and animations. Places for people to gather in these spaces where there hasn't been a steward to take care of those types of things. That's step one. Step two is also to talk about these businesses that are there. And again, we have some really interesting businesses in these spaces that maybe 30, 40 years ago would have only looked to be on a main street or in a shopping mall, but they're finding interesting little places, working with property owners to get a space that's just off the main drag where the rent might be a little bit cheaper and that could be unique for them.
That's great. And I'll just add that we passed a motion in Transportation Committee last week that will also see money that we will gain from a very inconvenient road closure on Wellington Street, potentially investing those easement fees into the Sparks Street public realm. So I'm very happy to see both of these initiatives go forward, Kevin. And I just want to thank you and the BIA for being really excellent partners with the city and really great stewards of Sparks Street. And I look forward to seeing what you can do with the rest of the neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Troster. Thank you, Kevin, for the presentation. So on the technical amendment then, is that carried? And then on the item as amended, is that carried? Okay, thank you. 7.4, the Affordable Housing Community Improvement Plan Program update. We do have a presentation from staff, from Justin Gript and Lauren Reeves.
Mr. Mayor, the Housing Solutions and Investment Team is here to recommend the committee approve updates to the Affordable Housing Community Improvement Plan Tax Grant Program, which was approved by Council in April. You'll recall that the program is a new program and the intent was to come forward with modifications as lessons were learned, and this is what we're here to do today. L'équipe Solutions de Logement et Investissement est ici pour recommander au comité d'approuver les mises à jour du plan d'amélioration communautaire pour le logement abordable, programme de subvention fiscale qui a été approuvé par le Conseil en avril. The program incentivizes the development of new affordable rental units by providing a yearly tax equivalent grant for 20 years. These are worth between $6,000 and $8,000 per unit. Staff have received the first round of applications, which could result in up to 450 new affordable housing units. This is really good news, and it demonstrates how programs implemented by Council can lead to more affordable housing. You'll be asked to approve the first round of applications in December. The team will be coming back quarterly after that point for future approvals as new requests are received. And then the program will continue until at least 2026, and applications can be submitted anytime. At this time, I want to turn it over to Lauren and to Justin for the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Debbie. Mr. Mayor and members of committee, good morning. As mentioned, my name is Justin. I'm a housing developer with the Strategic Housing Projects branch. Next slide, please. So a bit of background, the Affordable Housing CIP is an incentive-based program in accordance with Section 28 of the Planning Act and Section 365 of the Municipal Act. It was approved by Finance and Corporate Services back in April 2nd and Council on April 17th of this year. And it's looking to increase the supply of affordable rental units by providing a tax incentive, also known as the Tax Increment Equivalent Grant, or the TIG, varying from $6,000 to $8,000 per affordable unit per year for the span of a 20-year period. The affordable housing is applicable or would be applicable citywide. And we are here today, as seen in the report and in the attached documents that were shared with you, proposing several minor and substantive amendments. These substantive amendments must be made in accordance with the Planning Act and includes public consultation, council approval, which is the reason the item is being heard today. So in terms of recommendations, we recommend that the proposed amendments to the Affordable Housing Community Improvement Plan and implementing bylaws to replace and repeal bylaw number 2024-172 be approved. Next slide, please. In the interest of time, I will provide an overview of the 6 high-level substantive amendments that we are proposing. So for the first one, we're looking to add clarification to the definition of affordability. In some of our other work, we've noticed some inconsistencies in regards to the AMR, or average market rent, that we use specific to the CMHC, and we wanted to add and be explicit that it is the Ottawa portion of the Ottawa-Gatineau Census Metropolitan Area. This will just ensure that applicants refer to the correct AMR rents, and it is for consistency and avoid any confusion. Amendment number 2, we're looking to add wording to ensure design standards of affordable units. So prior to approving any of the TEAG applications thus far, we were looking to clarify that the proposed affordable units be evaluated in terms of their location within one development, standards, finishes, and access to amenities in relation to the market units within the same development. We're looking to ensure more equitable distribution across the entirety of that development. And amendment number 3, we're looking to revise some of the timelines of the program. So with recent provincial legislative changes, particularly Bill 185, where pre-consultations were no longer necessary or required, and there's been legislative changes with the site plan control timeline. We've revised that CIP applications be submitted after building permit to ensure that the unit counts and the types of units are closer to final prior to accepting or approving an application. And it's really trying to remove the review of CIP applications away from planning timelines as they might change in the future. And then also we wanted to add a 4-year deadline for all CIP applicants to obtain their occupancy permit. So this would be after they've been approved with the TEAG. This reason is a bit twofold. So one is in terms of reporting. We want to avoid committing funds to a project that isn't proceeding. And we want to, second, we want to encourage development of affordable units in a timely manner. Next slide, please. We're also looking to add a bit more clarification in regards to program stacking. So we want to ensure there is no duplication of funding efforts from the city on the same units. So we recommend that the CIP cannot be stacked with other city programs or agreements, and this is in particular to Section 37 benefits, community benefits charge, or Action Ottawa dollars. However, and it might have been mentioned in the finance section of the report, the CIP can be stacked with other city CIPs, and that is also clear in document 1 or the actual CIP document. For Amendment 5, clarifying the cap related to the tax uplift and determining the TEAG amount. Although it was always the intention, housing staff along with finance noticed it was not explicit in the CIP document and wanted to clarify that the uplift pertains only to the municipal portion of property taxes. The city can only be reimbursed with the taxes that are paid to the city and would not include school board taxes. And then similarly, it was also always the intent to be explicit that the tax increment is established once and locked for the duration of the TEAG. So that would be established on the first year following the completion and assessment of the uplift. This is primarily to alleviate the need for staff to recalculate the tax increment after every property tax increase. And this is something that's similar with the other, or consistent with the other CIPs. Perfect. And for Amendment 6, staff are also proposing a December 31st deadline for any TEAG requests and its required materials for the following year. This will allow finance to report and track grants issued on a yearly basis, while also providing applicants ample time to submit the requests. If the request isn't received by this date, the city shall have no obligation to pay the TEAG for that year. And then for second portion of that amendment, we're also requesting that language be added to ensure that the affordable units be continuously occupied. And this is just to discourage city incentivizing units that may be vacant for long periods of time. So we do have exceptions with brief turnovers or extraordinary circumstances, but to try to keep them continuously occupied. Next slide, please. So in terms of next steps, upon the approval of the recommendations today, and once the updated bylaw is enacted, appeal period has lapsed, staff will proceed to process the TEAG applications we received to date. TEAG applications that result in more than $2 million in grants over the 20-year period will require council approval. Staff does have delegated authority to approve those, resulting in less than the 2 million. Staff anticipate bringing these reports to Finance and Council in December of 2024. So this will be the first few. And these are all the ones that would be looking at more than $2 million in grants over the 20-year period. And of those 8 applications, we are estimated approximately 450 new affordable units. And they will vary in terms of studio, 1 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms. And that is it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions? Councillor Luloff.
Thank you very much. Remind me, for the affordable housing CIP, unlike other CIP applicants don't have to demonstrate that the project would not occur if not for the incentive, right?
That is correct.
Okay, good. Okay, so that amendment makes sense to me. And can you just go through your concern a little bit about stacking? Wouldn't being able to stack with other affordable housing programs allow for more deeply affordable units to make and make projects like these more financially viable?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to use an example of perhaps inclusionary zoning. So when inclusionary zoning does get implemented, that'll be a requirement of a developer to deliver affordable units with or without any other sort of financial incentive. So since we'd be getting them anyway, we would prefer not to offer the financial incentive of the CIP.
Okay, so but that doesn't exist now. Can you give me another example of one that like exists right now? Because inclusionary zoning, yes, we'll be getting the units anyway. However, those costs will be offset by the other units in the building, if not for any other incentives. So I don't quite believe that that's a very good example, but wouldn't allowing stacking with other affordable with other affordable housing programs allow for more deeply affordable units?
Mr. Mayor, another example could be community benefits. And in that case, again, we can request or require that affordable units be delivered. And what this CIP does, though, is permit the developer to use the number of units delivered under that other program to count toward the minimum requirement to be in receipt of a CIP. So you must deliver at least 5 units, and there must be at least 15% of the units as affordable in order to qualify for the CIP tax relief. Do you want to add to that?
I think it's also something to keep in mind with our recent changes in the MHF bylaw. We do have some, our nonprofit housing providers already have or can seek relief through that bylaw in terms of the property taxes as well. So we're ensuring that they're also being captured in that sense. And this is really specific to those developers or private developers that would be able to benefit from providing these units.
Okay, I worry about removing incentives to build affordable housing. We are in the middle of a housing crisis. We want to ensure that the numbers work when we're trying to get developers to build affordable housing. Yeah, I'm not sure I agree with the not being able to stack with others, but I'll let my colleagues continue. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Luloff. Just before we go any further with questions, actually, there is one public delegation which we should hear from. So that's from John Dickey, the chair of the Eastern Ontario Landlord Organization.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Sutcliffe. I was able to speak with, hello, can people hear me?
Yes.
Thank you.
Please
I was
continue.
able to speak with city staff this morning, and I do thank them for that. And that will shorten and simplify what I need to say here. So next slide, please. EOLO, that is, certainly supports the CIP and these proposed amendments. When I presented this yesterday, I thought that there was one error and two policy issues. It turns out there were two errors and one policy issue. Next slide, please. Speaking to the first error, next slide, please. There is essentially a typo in the document, and city staff are a little bit divided, but the intent is that the owner is not to be allowed to rent these affordable units to themselves or shareholders or directors or to other related people. And to do that, the word not needs to be inserted so that they shall not be rented to any individual not at arm's length from the owner, shareholders, directors, et cetera, of the owner. And I think staff may be going to turn to legal to determine whether that change should be made or not. But in any event, that is, everyone has agreed on the meaning that should be there. It's just a question of getting the wording correct. A similar thing, if we could go to the second to last slide, please, relates to language next and next. Yes. Thank you. In another place in the document at page 6, there is a table in the document that refers to the 3 different amounts that can be available in the TEAG, $6,000, $7,000, or $8,000. And the highest TEAG is it is stated is to be available for rents of 71 to 80% of AMR. Whereas in the supporting documentation, the reference was to more affordable than 80% of AMR. And again, in reading this, it appeared to me that entities should not be excluded from the TEAG if they chose to and were able to deliver rents at, say, 65% of AMR rather than 71% of AMR. And again, everyone agrees that is, staff agree that's the policy intent. I think everyone agrees that's the policy intent. That was in the background paper. And my suggestion is just that the actual document should reflect that policy intent. Now, if we could go up to 2 slides, one more. Thank you. Now, as to this issue, I had an interesting discussion with city staff on this point. And again, there is some sympathy for this position, but it turned out, as is often the case in these housing policy issues, that this issue is more complicated than it appears at first sight. And in fact, it is tied into other issues. And in fact, city staff and the housing staff are reviewing this issue in a broader context. They intend to review it over the next 2 years, at some point within the next 2 years. And what we came to was the fact that we all agree, at least that is staff and I agree, that it should be looked at, that the issue is complicated, and that I am happy to support the document as it stands with the understanding that this issue will be looked at over the next 2 years or so. And at that point, the issue may be addressed because the point is there is conflict between the degree to which the units are directed to people who need them the most. If we look to the next slide, please.
Mr. Dickey, you're at time. So
all right.
If you wouldn't mind just wrapping up quickly, that would be great.
I'll just wrap up with there is a point here, but staff would prefer to go forward with the document as it is. And I'm and Neolo is satisfied to see that take place with a review over the next 2 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dickey. Councillor Troster, did you have a question for Mr. Dickey? Okay. Anybody with a question for the delegate? Okay. Councillor Leeper.
John, thank you very much. Your third point with respect to the affordability threshold seems legitimate. Did staff give you any indication of why they don't want to make that change now? And can you give me some indication of why you're satisfied to let it move forward the way it is?
Well, I think they should speak to that. My sort of satisfaction is that it is tied in with other issues. It's tied in with the arrangement, the provisions with OCH. It's tied in with the expectations of the developers who have applied for this program. And it is a little bit late in the game to be changing that provision. So again, better that issue had been dealt with a year or 8 months ago. People are have moved along the path thinking that that will be the affordability threshold. And so again, vested rights are important. And if people have made their plans based on this, then I think the people who have applied should be given this provision, and the city can review it for the future.
Fairest way. Okay. Thank you, John.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Dickey, thank you very much for the presentation. Appreciate it. Councillor Gower. I'll go to committee members first. Councillor Gower.
Thanks, Mayor. It sounds like staff are aware of Mr. Dickey's concerns. 3 major areas. Can staff just address the concerns that he raised in his delegation?
Mr. Mayor, we had the opportunity to meet with Mr. Dickey this morning and discussed in some pretty good detail about the issues that he's raised. The 2 issues, one related to arm's length, one related to the way the table reads. We are vetting this with legal counsel, and it looks like we can probably bring these forward as a technical amendment if necessary at council on October 16th, if that's permitted. In terms of the 30% threshold, the affordable piece, with that, there are 2 key projects that are underway by our colleagues in housing and homelessness services and community and social services. They're working on, first of all, the definition of affordability and where that threshold should sit, how we should define affordable. The second thing we see coming out of the CSSD is work on the wait list, how the centralized wait list works versus the below market rent wait list, and so on, and what we can require our housing providers, our nonprofit housing providers to draw on in terms of those wait lists. So those 2 key pieces are going to be completed, I think, early next year. And we see that information feeding into this program for affordable housing, as well as a number of our other affordable housing programs that'll need to be revisited in the context of what that affordable housing definition becomes.
Okay, and that definition is a work in progress, and therefore that's why we see we will see changes over the next couple of years. That's
correct. And this program is for the CIP is intended to be revisited at the end of 2026. It was only a pilot until that time, and then we can certainly review more in a more fulsome way at that time.
And it looks like for now you're trying to align to CMHC definitions. Is that partly for simplicity for builders so that they're not trying to match, I guess, rents to a whole bunch of different definitions of affordability, or?
Mr. Mayor, that is what we use, and most of our programs are established around average market rent and 80% of average market rent as published by CMHC in their annual market rent survey. That's correct.
Okay. I also wanted to ask, of the 8 applications and 450 units, that's excellent. I think exceeded what I was probably expecting this soon into the program. Are there any trends or anything in common with the applicants? Are these larger builders, smaller builders? Anything, any type of builder where this is appealing the most to, or are we seeing a variety?
Mr. Mayor, they're primarily larger builders in larger buildings. So this is why the number of units are so high, and the reason that the overall financial incentive is 2 million plus. And you'll be seeing us bring these forward in December.
Okay, we'll look forward to that then. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Gower. Councillor Troster.
Thank you so much, Mayor, and thank you so much to staff for your work on this. I'm really excited to see the huge uptick. And I'm also glad to see that you will be looking at the definition of affordability, because certainly for the residents in my ward that are desperate to find an affordable apartment, 80% of AMR is still too expensive. But my question to you in terms of stacking is there anything stopping a resident who can receive a portable housing subsidy either from the city or from the COB, the Ontario, what is it? The Canada-Ontario housing benefit, could those be stacked in one of these units to increase affordability?
Mr. Mayor, absolutely.
Okay.
The COB can be allocated to a tenant.
Okay, well, that's a good start. And my other question is, will there be any, how will these affordable units be advertised or made available? Simply because I know there's a lot of people who are on the wait list, for example, for a rent geared to income home, and we're not making those anymore, who might find it affordable if they can stack a subsidy with a CIP funded unit. Is there a way to specifically market those to people who might be on the waiting list or offer some priority? Or is it up to individual developers to advertise them as they see fit?
Mr. Mayor, there are 3 different levels of incentive, 6,000, 7, and 8. When a developer provides units that are at 80% of AMR or less, they'll receive the $8,000 per unit benefit or incentive, I should say. And those ones would be required to draw from the wait list.
Oh, that's great to hear.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. So on the item then, is that carried?
Mayor, I'll dissent on item 4, modification 5. Thanks.
Okay, noted, thank you. Okay, there are no in-camera items. Note the information previously distributed. Any notices of motion? Any inquiries? Any other business? Okay, motion to adjourn then. Carried. Thank you, everyone. Merci beaucoup.